Okay, andito tayo ngayon with newly elected Congresswoman Rene Co from the Kabataan Party List. Kumusta, Rene?
It's a pleasure to be back here and syempre maraming ginagawa, maraming schedules, pero laban na laban.
Wow, alam mo nung nagkita tayo the last time, 'di ba? You were a nominee and now you're the sole representative for the Kabataan Party List, ano? How is it like, Expectations, kumusta naman? Exciting?
Well, definitely the scope is larger.
Aha.
It's a different thing to be sharing the 10-point youth agenda and then knowing how you campaign and actualize it on the ground versus actualizing it inside the halls of Congress. So it's a different ball game. There's a lot to consider. Pero ako, excited ako kasi andyan yung team namin, andyan yung National Executive Committee, and syempre andyan yung napakaraming student councils, iba't ibang youth organizations that not are only supportive, pero may inputs na, no? Kung paano ba natin dadalhin yung landas ng kabataan patungo doon sa alternatibong pinaglalaban namin nung eleksyon, and gusto naming ma-actualize hindi lang ngayon, pero beyond, no?
Yes, at ngayon nakikita ko that you came into a Congress with a lot of problems to face at a lot of controversies ngayon. At now that you guys are tackling the budget, ang isang pinag-uusapan ngayon ay yung pagbabaha ng korupsyon. Di ba?
Yeah.
Oh, how do you deal with that? Kasi I mean, honestly, ang bintang ngayon na lumalabas, hindi lang sa Senado, kundi sa Kongreso din. Especially with the parang pagtingin nila sa flood control as some sort of pork barrel na inaabuso ng mga kongresista ngayon. And you're one of the Congress people. And these are some of the people you deal with. What do you have to say about that?
Actually, nung SONA, yun yung theme ng outfit na ginawa ng volunteer artists, no, na sinuot ko, na binabaha yung kabataan sa korupsyon, sa mismong baha, failure to address yung climate crisis, and yung walang bahala sa edukasyon. So, it is meant to be a pointed statement to everyone that can see it. Whether it's the public to share na andyan kami, we are one with yung alarming developments na to, and it's a pointed critique sa lahat ng mga nagmumonopolyo ng kapangyarihan na alam natin, no, may iba't ibang paraan para ma-promote yung mga businesses nila, yung families nila through these positions of power. And so sa amin, no, actually yung Makabayan Block naman, alam niya na yung institusyong gagalawan niya, it's reactionary.
Right.
No, ibig sabihin, a lot of the players in there have self-interests they want to promote. Which is why yung primary gawain namin, no, is really exposition. So, syempre, we are going to work with the unities,
yes,
with different members of Congress and on issues.
Yes.
Pero that doesn't mean that we have to censor ourselves. We have to hold back kung may anomalya na kailangang i-expose. And definitely, we won't be silent on issues such as corruption and paano ba pinagwawalang bahala yung pera ng bayan dapat pupunta sa serbisyo, pero instead ay pupunta diretso sa pockets. No?
Yeah, yun yung isang nakikita ko malaking problema with these flood control projects. And not just flood control, roadworks, mga pagpapatayo ng mga buildings, ganun. And I've been saying this on my vlog, and I'm hoping to get this across also to all the members of Congress na that is the biggest source of corruption. I think alam naman ata natin yun na kaya lang kasi karamihan ng taong bayan hindi lang naintindihan na pag mas maraming mga buildings na pinapatayo, mga kalyeng pinapaayos o kaya mga flood control, mas marami talaga ang korupsyon kasi yun ang naririnig kong ginagamit ng mga iba't ibang mga kampo na yung administrasyon na to maraming build naman daw kaya matino daw sila. In reality hindi. The more build, the less money goes into social services. At yun yung nakikitang problema natin sa budget natin. Ano yung balak, I don't know how much you guys can do bilang part of the minority. Pero are you guys looking at the flood control projects for 2026? Nabawasan na ba yun compared to 2025? At where are you guys at pagdating doon?
you raised so many points that I'd like to discuss.
Okay, so sige, let's tackle it one by one. Sorry, sige.
Okay, go.
Isa-isa natin.
Okay, so right now, lesser yung budget for flood control.
Okay.
Like 70 billion ang na-slash sa kanya.
Not bad. Okay.
And nakita naman natin kamakailan yung nilabas nga na list na ni President Marcos, yung top 15 companies that have billions
Yes.
in flood control projects, and a lot of them across the Philippines. Pero sa amin, no, hindi siya yung sagot pa sa kahirapan. No, we're wary na all this theatrics no, will bury yung reality that has been prevalent for decades, which is tama. Infrastructure is where corruption is, no? And ang pointed critique lagi ng Makabayan ay napakalaki ng budget for infra at minamaliit yung budget for education. And tama, no? Yung binabakbak na kalsada kada taon, tas papalitan ng bagong layer of cement as if may ginawa yun. Pero most likely, malaki nang nakikpak ng mga contractors na magka-partnership with particular politicians, political dynasties in a particular city or in a municipality, region even. So, yung sa amin, the budget, no, even though actually the education budget increased, yun nga, may decrease in the flood control project budget, nandiyan pa rin yung overarching framework, which is that, no, different ways by which companies, corporations are propped up and are provided tax breaks, protections, and nandyan pa rin yung mga partners nila, or usually yung mismong nagra-run ng corporations in positions of power. Nakita natin yung, diba, si Chis Escudero, and then yung isang pinakamalaking campaign donor niya ng 2022 national elections, sa top 50 na yon. Yung mga Diskaya ng Pasig, diba? Yung St. Timothy, and yung Alpha and Omega.
Yep.
3 and 4 or 2 and 3? Ganon.
Yes. Yeah.
Yun. So, they're still gaming the system. They're still trying and still finding ways and securing ways to ensure that they profit of supposedly services na deserve at dapat nakukuha ng mga mamamayan. And tayo, ang gawain natin all the time is critiquing the budget, no, interpolating, finding out kung asan yan. So, na-mention mo yung, syempre, minority, there's some limitations on what we can do, but actually, the Makabayan Bloc was the one that, blew open the fact that malaki yung confidential funds ni VP Sara.
Yes.
Diba?
Yeah.
And yung confidential funds na to, hinihingan siya ng sagot, di niya mabigay. And now, napakadaming anomalies na na-expose dito. Like, sino si Mary Grace Piatos? Bakit napakarami yung receipts na nakalagay sa kanya yung pangalan? Or even, we caught one of her staff, si Attorney Poa, na sinabi niya na sinunod ko lang naman si VP Sara, which is, I think, yung disbursement voucher na pinirmahan ko ay pumunta sa Papa Youth Leadership Seminar in partnership with the military. Pero the military was there to say, no, actually, we were the ones that funded it. So, nasa na yung pera na yon? All of that, minority, Makabayan Bloc yung nagsiwalat. So, yung pagsisiwalat na to, ang ending niyan ay gusto natin ma-push tong mga nasa people in power na mag-lessen yung kapangyarihan nila para hindi na nila magawa yung ganyang iba't ibang style ng katiwalian sa loob.
Okay, so now you brought up a lot of different issues that I want to address. So number one, this sa confidential funds. I wanted to ask you point blank with this one kasi President BBM still has a substantial amount of the confidential funds. As a matter of fact, half
4.5 billion
of the total, di ba?
Yes, and 10 billion.
Yeah, of the 10. Bakit wala pang nagsasabi kay BBM or at least sinlash na yan? Kasi hindi naman niya kailangan ng ganun kalaking confidential funds. Lumaki lang yan. Panahon ni Duterte, for whatever reason, I mean, come on, let's be honest. During the pandemic, did you really need to increase the confidential funds from the 500 million to naging 1 billion, naging 2, naging 4.5? Kailangan ba lumaki ng ganyang kalaki? Nung pandemya, ganun ba kalaki ang insurgency nung pandemya? Lahat nakakulog sa bahay. Tapos ngayon, tinuloy pa ni BBM. I think it would be good for him na babaan na to a normal, acceptable level. 'Di ba? Has anyone talked about it in Congress? Pinag-usapan niyo to, hindi?
Actually, precisely yun yung sinabi namin sa press conference lang earlier. Ako at saka si ACT Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tino. Up until now, BBM has not provided an explanation why he is requesting 4.5 billion pesos in confidential and intelligence funds. And tama, no? It started sa presidency ni Rodrigo Duterte, and kinlamor din ng public na come out with an explanation kung saan pupunta to. And he was able to provide one, no? Albeit one na we disagree on. Kasi syempre, kung ano man ang gamit na yan, ba't di na lang ilagay sa regular budget?
Right.
Diba?
Right.
The public deserves transparency. We deserve to know kung saan pupunta yung taxpayers' money natin. But if it's as vague as confidential and intelligence funds and lolobo ng lolobo kada taon, syempre you'd think, you'd ask yourself, ba't ganon? Yung 612.5 million nga lang ni VP Sara, no, for OVP and DepEd, no, for some years. Kung kukumpara mo, kakarampot lang yun sa 4.5 billion na hinihingi ni Marcos. So, sa atin, we challenge him, no? Come out with an explanation. We deserve an adequate explanation.
Did he but you said earlier na nagbigay nga siya ng parang line item breakdown, ganun ba yun? Ng kung ano saan niya ginagastos yun?
I think nung kay President Duterte.
Okay. Pero since Marcos requested for it, shouldn't it have some sort of a line item or at least makikita mo yung breakdown? May ganun ba dapat o wala?
It should. No, and right now, merong some level of parsing, pero even that is vague.
Right.
No? And syempre, they'll rationalize it na, may national security concerns. He is the chief architect of the National Security Plan. Attorney Claire Castro came out with, a defense recently of that 4.5 billion pesos. Yun na yung defense yung sinabi ko.
Oh, okay.
And to us, that's insufficient.
Yes,
no?
of course. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yep.
No, it could be going to schools. It could be going to classrooms na right now, no? Yung findings ng Department of Education, we have a 165,000 classroom shortage.
Wow.
Tapos, yung target na matapos ng number of classrooms this year is 6,000. Next year is 4,800 something. Tapos, yung promise ni BBM, doon sa dun sa SONA niya, no? If I'm not mistaken, it's around 40,000, which is, a far cry from yung doon sa nalagay sa NEP na gagawin or itinatarget na gawin this year and next year. Doon na lang sana pumunta yung 4.5 billion pesos. Diba?
So, yeah, when you say it's a far cry, are you referring to the budgeted is more than 40,000 classrooms based on the budget, tapos ang pinapromise niya 40,000? Yung ba sinasabi mo?
Yes. So far, dun sa SONA niya, 40,000 or so daw yung sabi niyang by the end of my term, gagawin natin yan. Yun. Pero kung titignan natin yung NEP, it's just 6,000, it's just 4,000. Kulang siya.
Cool. I see. But at the same time, I remember na may lumabas na article na sinasabi na parang kinompare yung budget na ginastos ng DepEd through the DPWH for one classroom, umabot ng parang 3.8 million. Then, pinakita nila compared to yung pinakamababa. Ano kung nakita mo? Ito yung sa Angat Buhay. Angat Buhay ba yun? Tama. At 800,000 per classroom. That's 4 times.
Yes.
The what people were thinking was parang nakaya. So hindi ba in Congress, don't you guys talk about this? Say, wait a minute guys, kung kaya naman pala gawin for 800,000, bakit pa doon nangyayari?
Exactly. 'Di ba? And syempre, yun yung reason kung bakit the public is distrustful of the budget kasi may mga lalabas na lesser yung cost, Tapos, lesser yung time required to build that classroom. Pero when you look at sa ginagawa ng Department of Education with DPWH, it costs more and takes longer to build.
Yun.
Diba? So, kaya ito yung gawain natin sa coming budget season.
Okay.
And dapat a lot more people not only watch but directly participate. Kasi what's at stake is future ng kabataan. No? And not only that, yung pamumuhay nating lahat.
Yes.
No? Hindi dapat tayo mag-stand for a kind of budget na doble-doble yung kailangang bayaran for services na matagal naman ma-deliver sa atin when, other times have proven we could get
Yes.
more.
So alam mo, no, I'll be very transparent with you with my agenda and why I wanted to have you here, no, because nga budget is a very big deal for me. As somebody who's an entrepreneur and also an economics graduate, nakikita ko yung malaking problema sa budget, and I think we talked about this even in the first time. Na sinasabi ko kailangan babaan nga yung budget eh. And nakita ko nga tumaas na yung budget natin na nasa NEP, yung sa NEP at may langaw na nakikisabay sa atin. Sorry at then yung NEP is at 6.73 trillion. That's significantly higher than the 6.3 ata, if I remember correctly, from 2025. That's almost 10% higher. So, hindi ba talaga kayang ibaba tong budget na to? And I know that you're just one out of 300 plus Congress representatives. So, I understand the limitation, but alam mo, if we can get more voices to speak out, I think kayang babaan to because that's what's really causing the problem with our economy. Kaya tumataas ang presyo ng mga bilihin dahil ang laki palagi ng budget beyond what the revenue is. So, do you think that's something na magagawa? And I know nga na, by the way, dagdag ko na rin that I know that Congress, na-slash yun yung budget nyo eh.
Yeah.
From last year, from the year before, it's been slashed again to, ano na ba ngayon, nasa 26 billion na lang.
Hindi ko pa nga nakikita yung
I saw,
kasi education yung
nakatuto ka sa education yun. So yun ang isa nakita ko. I was like, okay, that's good. But at the same time, yun na nga, overall, there has to be a bigger cut. At least 1 trillion tanggalin sa budget. And I know that sounds unreasonable, but I'm such a geek in this. And in 2024, the COA or the DBM saw that there was an unused, unobligated 1.2 trillion in 2024 in the first 3 quarters. 1.2 trillion. So, ibig sabihin parang sa akin, pilitan lang yung paggagastos. Na pinipilit na lang ang ating mga iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno na gastusin yung pera dahil ando doon yung budget, kundi't makakat yung budget nila. Imbis na sabihin, may savings, o bayaran natin yung utang ng bansa. Ang laki-laki ng utang natin. So yun, I talked about so many things here, but I don't know if you can try to address that, or what does the kabataan think about it, or as a representative, how do you deal with this? Because your constituents, the youth, are going to be the ones affected by this continuous growing debt.
Actually, I think we disagree on several points, pero I agree with you that I don't want more debt. Ayoko ng mas lumulobong utang para sa bansa. Na ang ending, tama kayo, kami yung magmamana.
Yep.
No? At this juncture nga, I think each Filipino owes 150,000 pesos. Ganun nakalaki yung debt natin. Vis-a-vis 114 million Filipinos right now here. And if we keep going at this rate and in this model, lalaki ng lalaki yung debt. Yun yung ayaw natin. And so, tama na we have to look at the spending and we have to look at tama ba yung spending.
Right.
Yung sa akin kasi, how spending is happening right now, it is not for the people. So, more or less, sa infrastructure, malaki dyan yung, yung unspoken rule na may malaking kickbacks involved. Kailangan isiwalat yun. Kailangan may talagang malawakang investigasyon kung paano tututulan yan at wawakasan finally, no? And yung budget na lalabas from that, no, na basically yung kailangan mong pera na i-deliver para magawa yung mga necessary buildings, infrastructure, mapagawa, no? And syempre, ma-increase din yung mga kailangan. Yun nga, may classroom shortages that will need
Yep.
money as well. So, sige, fund that. May matitira dyan eh.
Yes.
Yung pera na yun, ilaan siya sa services. Kasi right now, education and health spending is still far from what's ideal for our country. Right now, education spending is, for last year's budget or this year's budget, is only at 3.23% of the GDP of the Philippines.
Okay.
No? So, there's things that can augment it or adjust it. So, syempre, like, lakihan mo yung GDP ng Pilipinas.
Okay.
So, may part dyan na kailangang paunlarin mo yung production sa bansa, etc. So that hindi tayo sobrang liit and therefore liliit din yung education budget natin. Pero sa atin, kailangan nating mag-comply sa 6% standard internationally. Kasi the reason why there's education crisis right now, no, among many reasons, is hindi well-funded, hindi well-supported yung education. Same with health. No, yung health, ang standard din sa buong mundo na 5% of the GDP of the Philippines. We're not compliant with these and therefore may yung call namin, no, yung pera pumunta doon. No, so for us, it's not, syempre ibang usapin pa yung pag-aaralan natin na paano ba may ensure na hindi lubog sa utang yung Pilipinas. For us, there's a way na taasan yung production, yung kakayahan ng bansa to produce income. And you don't need to cut spending para lang afloat yung country mo and hindi kailangan umutang. So, siguro yun yung point na where we digress. I don't necessarily agree with we have to cut spending. What we have to do is increase the income of the Philippines. And hindi umutang. And also, be very wise where you put your you put your spending in your budget.
So, so the couple of things that you mentioned. Number one, sabi mo, we're not compliant with the 5%. 5% of what? For healthcare.
If I remember correctly, UNESCO siya. The UNESCO,
Okay.
Yung standard niya ay yung health budget should be 5% of the GDP of your country.
And
Yes,
it's not right
it's
now.
not.
Where are we at? Would you know?
I think, alam ko parang nasa 3-something.
Oh,
din siya
wow.
eh.
Okay, halos kalahati.
Oo.
Okay.
And yung sa education, yun din, kalahati.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? You mean to say dapat doble pa what it is now?
Yes. UNESCO standards put it at 6%. No, actually 4 to 6%. Pero yung 4%, for developed countries na medyo established na yung education.
So parang maintenance
nila.
lang yan.
Yes.
Oo.
Pero for developing countries like us, kailangan mas mataas pa yung investment mo kasi crippled pa yung education
And
natin.
we're only doing half of what the UNESCO study has shown to be the required minimum? Wow, okay.
3.23%.
That is, I did not realize that. Thank you for sharing that. And sa akin, kasi yung nakikita kong problema din with the DepEd na nabanggit nga ni Secretary Angara was yung mga budget pala na nasa DepEd na ginagamit for building the classrooms ay binibigay pala sa DPWH.
Yeah.
Tapos sila yung may sole authority on how it is spent. And so, in other words, in reality, parang budget din pala yun ng DPWH.
Yes. And ito pa,
Jesus.
hindi kasi ganun yun before. We remember a time, and it was explained to us before, UP Student Regent ako, and so may mga parang infrastructure na the University of the Philippines will hold bidding, and yung bidding na to, may mag-a-apply, kasi eventually may mag-offer ng, ito yung amount na gusto naming i-bayaran for yung plan nyo. Okay, great. Now, it's different. We have to all course it through the DPWH. So it used to be not like that before.
When did this change happen? Would you remember?
I don't really remember the exact year. Pero I think, Sorry, I can't really recall.
Oh, sige.
I'll be responsible.
Yeah, oo nga. Kasi you don't wanna say something na mali, di ba? Yeah, sige,
Pero
I'm
I
gonna-
remember, 2014, hindi ganyan yun.
Oh my God, Lord. So
Yeah,
sabi mo sa
oo.
akin, kung 2014, di ganyan, sino ba yung naging president?
Yeah.
I don't wanna, sige, I mean, I don't wanna keep pointing my finger at a certain politician, no? Pero mukhang ganun ang lumalabas. Kasi hindi naman talaga napaprioridad ang edukasyon. At sa akin nga, yun ang nakikita kong pinakamalaking problema. Yung DPWH is the second highest budget. And parang last 2025, it was the highest, di ba?
Yes. oo.
Tapos medyo nagkaroon lang ng magic adjustments
Yeah,
na naging pero by just a little bit DepEd education became the higher budget by just a little bit based on
And-
technicalities.
And we have to contest that pa kasi starting last year, dun lang yung time na PNPA,
Yun.
PMA,
Exactly.
doon nilagay sa education when the entire time no nakalagay yan sa ibang spending.
Kaya yun ang ibig ko sabihin na dinaan lang sa technicality para
Yeah.
mas mataas. Pero dapat, for me knowing that the DPWH gets a budget from the DepEd anyway, dapat talaga babaan pa yung budget ng DPWH at yung DepEd taasan yung budget. I mean, honestly, my God, DPWH gets what budget every year? Would you know the exact amount that they get? Magkano yung nakalagay for 2026? Or kahit 2025?
Currently, the spending for DPWH, ang alam ko ay nag-shrink, no? Pero not by much. And actually, we're still crunching the numbers,
Yeah.
so I'll get back to you on
Okay.
that. Pero ang tingin din namin, no, ay yung infra pa rin yung
Yes.
pinakamalaki na spending.
Yeah, and honestly, I can see DPWH cutting budget by at least half, and it won't really make much of a difference in terms of yung mga infrastructure projects. To be honest with you, I really think that's ganun kalaki yung pumupunta sa corruption at sa mga poorly planned, poorly made infrastructures. And if you cut that by half, put it to education, to health, social services, something that could even increase productivity ng mga tao, that could increase the GDP, then that would make sense to
Yes.
spend that money. The problem is, karamihan ng perang ginagastos does not improve the GDP,
You're
does
correct.
not improve productivity, does not help the people. So why? I mean, I think I'm going to answer my own question on why this is happening. It's corruption.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you, I mean, you're inside. You're inside now. How do we deal with corruption? Anong balak nyong gawin bilang representatives ng ating mga tao? At saka, anong pwede nating gawin naman, naming mga mamamayan, tungkol din sa issue ng corruption? We have to work hand in hand here. Anong marirecommend mo?
Well, ako, marami tayong nakikitang instances of corruption in our daily lives. But sometimes, we take it for granted as if unchanging reality na siya. We have to unite so that manifestation of corruption ay tumigil. I'll give one example lang, Prime Water.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Oh.
diba?
Oh, sige.
Prime Water is one instance na because ever since the Villars came into power, dumami yung kontrata ng Prime Water bilang water distributor sa kung anong syudad, kung anong probinsya. Pero nasiwalat yung corruption na ginagawa nila. Kunwari, ang pinaka-stark example is yung sa San Jose del Monte, Bulacan, where sila, hindi mo makokontrol yung napakaraming citizens that are suffering through brown-colored
Yes.
water that would only come back ng 11 p.m. Tas aalis na naman mawawala na naman ng 4 a.m. Mag-iigib ka for a week. Otherwise, wala kayong tubig. And yung particular groups doon that have organized themselves
Yep.
and said that this is an unacceptable new reality that only came in 2017 lang.
Right.
So they refused to accept na may repression lang kaming mararamdaman araw-araw, may needs kaming hindi mamimit kasi may kurakot na gustong gumanansya sa serbisyo na dapat na kukuha namin. So you can see that everywhere whether it be in the building na tinatayo
Yep.
sa barangay ninyo,
Mhm.
whether it be in the school na tataasan yung tuition nyo, pero kung ano-anong justifications yung gagawin and isususpend ka kung nag-status ka kung ano man. We have to be brave in the face of corruption. So sa amin, sa bahagi namin sa Kongreso will make it easier
Mhm.
for the brave, united
Right.
souls and groups to do the exposition work that they could be doing and that we're doing. No, we have the anti-political dynasty bill.
Yes.
We're filing that. We filed that. So ibig sabihin, syempre, mga political dynasties yung mga nasa legislatures, executives, so medyo long shot siya, pero we're still trying and we're still uniting with others para ma-push na mangyari yon so that malimitahan yung kakayahan, no, ng mga family businesses to continue monopolizing power. There's one. Number two, for students that speak out against these kinds of abuses, they're usually the bearing the brunt of punishments
Yes.
for speaking out. So we have, and we filed the Students' Rights and Welfare Bill, straw bill, na ang ending, when passed, no, it would mean greater protections of the exercise of freedoms and rights of students, no? And across the board, we have Human Rights Defenders Bill, we'll be refiling an Environmental Rights Defenders Bill, etc. So, sa amin sa loob, aside from, syempre, we're lobbying and we're pushing for greater budget and greater attention and programs on different social services, we're also empowering and sa atin talaga, sa taong bayan na kasalalay, yung movement na i-create ng pagsisiwalat na to, na i-reject tong corrupt, rotten reality, and let's establish a new one na hindi tayo nababaon, hindi tayo nalulubog, nababaha sa utang, sa korupsyon, sa iba't ibang problema. Pero yung connected tayo sa mga productive energies na yung mga magsasaka, totoong nakakapagsaka, yung mga mangingisda, hindi na-atake ng
Yung pa,
China,
yes.
diba? And yung mga kabataan, nakakapag-aral, na-apply yung napag-aaralan sa iba't ibang fields that they want to enter into. And hindi lang lahat tayo pinipare sa mag-BPO, mag-abroad.
Right.
Yan.
Okay, that's interesting. Alam mo, with regards to corruption, babanggitin ko din that on my end, nakikita ko na, when I ran for councilor, and may napansin ako that people accept corruption nga as a part of their life. Not just accept, they're part of the corruption. Sa pagtatanggap nila ng mga maliliit na inaabot sa kanila, ng mga politiko na tumatakbo, parte sila ng corruption, kaya katanggap-tanggap nila yon. Kasi para sa kanila, hindi na nakikita yung connection nun dun sa malalaking nangyayaring corruption. Tingin nila yung binaabot, parang, I deserve this. This is mine. Kinatanggap ko. Pero that's actually part of the entire circle of corruption. Kasi sinasabi ko nga, kung yung mga politiko na yan, nagbibigay sa inyo ng tagpa 500 man lang, at 100,000 voters, 500 would be 5 million? 5 million? 50 million?
1,000, no?
500 tapos 100,000.
500,000. Oo.
Hindi. No, that's 50. Kasi 100,000 times 500. 100,
tama.
1 million.
Add 2 zeros.
Yeah, oo nga. 50 million pesos. So para sa akin, pag-isip-isipan natin to, kung nakakakuha ka ng ganyan, ilang kayo nakakakuha ng ganyang kalaking pera, tingin mo hindi niya babawiin yan. Yun lang ang sa akin. Kaya we're part of the cycle of corruption. Yun yung nakikita kong problema. And siguro kailangan talaga tignan din natin sa ating mga komunidad kung paano, kasi naiintindihan ko rin kung ba't nila tinatanggapin. Nangangailangan sila eh. Kasi nga kulang yung binibigay. Pero kailangan siguro dito tayo magmamatigas, sabihin natin, hindi na kami tatanggap ng mga maliliit na bariyang yan. At we demand better. We demand more. Hindi lang 500 pesos itong araw na to. We demand services para sa buong buhay namin at sa mga anak namin. Yun yung kailangan hingiin ng taong bayan na hindi nila hinihingi ngayon. Kumbaga, parang nilolowball nila sarili nila eh. Parang nililiit nila yung halaga nila na okay na ako sa 500 pesos, 1,000, okay na yun. Hindi eh. Kailangan taasan natin yung tingin natin sa sarili natin at yung kailangan ibigay sa atin. Sobrang kulang eh.
Yun yung heartbreaking, no? Kasi gumagawa ng kondisyon yung mga nagmumonopolyo ng kapangyarihan na ipakapit tayong lahat sa patalim. Kasi they're making it seem like there's no other way out of this except through me. That's,
Yun.
diba? That's patronage politics
Yes.
at its core. And kailangan natin ng united effort to reject the patronage politics na nagpapabulok sa lipunan natin.
Yep.
And so, tama na, we have to demand more. Beyond, actually, parang di ba may mga alternative frameworks na, sige, tanggapin mo yan, pero alam mo na hindi lang yan ang
Okay.
deserve mo,
Mhm.
'di ba? So sa loob ng pabrika or kung saan tayo hired,
Mhm.
we have to understand that we are being exploited for the income that is just provided to us na barya-barya.
Yup.
So let's unionize, no? Let's
Right.
fight for family living wage of actually 1,200 pesos per day, no? Yung currently minimum wage, for example, in NCR, it's 695. It's way lower in different regions, no? May mga ilan nagti-390, lalo na sa
Right.
BARM. That's inhumane, no?
Yes, yes.
That's unlivable. So
Yep.
kailangang palakasin natin yung clamor, yung demand for that, and also no, yung services, hindi dapat tayo mag-eke out ng millions per
Right.
year just so that we're able to not only stay afloat in the society but just literally barely live.
Yeah.
No?
You know what's interesting no binanggit mo yun na-realize ko nga grabe.
Oo.
Ayun, galit
na. Ang Diyos sa ganito.
Grabe. Tapos pinicture pa tayo kanina.
Oo.
Pero anyway, yung alam mo napansin ko, tama ka doon na mababa talaga yung wages natin. Alam mo, I'm a little bit, although I'm a little bit sympathetic din to business kasi naintindihan ko din yung hirap ng pagnenegosyo. But having said that, naintindihan ko yung pangangailangan na taasan yung wages. What was interesting for me was nalaman ko yung mga tricycle drivers, for example. Alam mo ba magkano kinikita nila araw-araw?
Magkano?
Meron silang minimum, 1,000 to 1,500 a day. So nagulat ako, natuwa din ako at ganun pala kalaki yung kaya nilang kitain sa isang araw. So kahit pa paano, kung dalawa sila nagtatrabaho, umaabot ng kami na asawa niya, nagtatrabaho, siya nagtatrabaho, kaya nilang makaabot ng mga 70, 80, 90,000 pesos sa isang buwan. So I was really surprised and happily surprised nung nalaman ko yun. I don't know if that's always the case, pero yun ang sinabi sa akin na parang sinabi nung ilan na nakausap kong tricycle driver, sinabi sa akin yun na, sir, kasi kailangan makaabot kami ng 1,000 to 1,500 a day.
Apo, actually, kahit yung mga jeepneys ay nakakaabot ng ganyang amount.
Ay, okay.
Yung masakit sa kanila and yung nakakabawas dyan is kailangan nilang magbayad ng boundary.
Yung boundary.
Yeah, oo. Usually, yung drivers, they're from poor families. They don't have the capability to buy their own tricycle or buy their own
Right.
jeep. So, they have to they have to like rent it from someone. And so, there's a daily rent
Yes,
for it. Yun. So, malaki yung sa kanila mismo yung vehicle and sa kanila mismo yung prangkisa. Actually, yun yung at the core of ano yung ayaw ng jeepney drivers, tricycle drivers din for sa mga modernization schemes. For example, yung modernization schemes sa jeepney, no, it requires franchise consolidation. Meaning, hindi na sa'yo yung prangkisa mo, it has to be from one cooperative.
Mhm.
And so, kung sino man si operator, no, sino yung mga owner, di hawak niya sa sa leeg.
Oh.
Yung ano yung neck,
Oo.
leg. Hawak sa leeg. Yung mga drivers.
Right.
Kasi, kung kailangan ko taasan yung boundary para bayaran yung shinell out ko na milyones para mag-comply sa jeepney modernization framework, no, na usually imported from other countries,
Right.
kahit kaya naman ng saraw, ganyan. Ano magawa mo? Nasa akin yung prangkisa mo.
Right.
So, anyway, yun lang din. Parang, actually, no, may mga iba't ibang ways by which yung mga araw-araw na sumiserbisyo, manggagawa, magsasaka, mangingisda, kaya nilang mag-produce at makakuha ng livable wages. Pero it's just that yung sistema will continuously lowball them.
Right.
And do ways para maging kakarampot lang yung iti-take home nila. Oo.
Yeah, and nakikita ko nga yung problema ng modernization act na ginawa na yun, was instead of saying na, bilhin nyo, honestly, kaya naman gawin ng gobyerno to subsidize it. Subsidize kasi this is considered infrastructure at makakatulong talaga to in the long run. So, dapat i-subsidize sila yung mga ganitong klaseng pagbabago kasi gusto naman nila yung pagbabago and it will help benefit everyone. Instead of forcing yun nga mga franchise operators, kailangan nyo i-shoulder yung buong amount. I saw the cost. I was like, if I was
Like
the owner of a
some
jeepney,
jeepney
I
na,
wouldn't buy this kasi magkano yung pamasahe. Kinompute ko, I was even doing a computation. I'm like, grabe, effort ako, mag-i-invest ako dito, lalampat 10 taon bago ko mababawi yung...
baon ka sa utang for 10 years,
Oo,
diba?
parang it doesn't make sense. So I wouldn't put my money there. So they have to make it, incentivize it, and make it na magugustuhan mong mag-invest. Na sige, pasok ko ng pera dito. That it should be so good na any entrepreneur would look at it and say, sige, I'll invest in this. Sa ganun, alam mong kikita din yung mga nagda-drive, at saka gaganda yung pagpapatakbo ng mga public transportation natin. Kasi ngayon, honestly, with the current jeepneys, biggest problem natin, especially in Metro Manila, is, I don't know if you know what the biggest cause of death or yung sakit na meron ng mga
Lung
tao.
cancer.
Yeah, anything with the baga.
Disease, pero lung cancer yung pangalawa or something.
Yeah, it's all sa baga. So, bakit sa baga? Pag-isipan natin to in urban cities is because of the pollution from a lot of the jeepneys, the buses, the tricycles. Kahit na ako, lalabas nga ako, kung tumabas ako ng 1 linggo sa labas, my God, magkaka-asthma ata ako nito eh. Muntik na ako nagka-asthma eh. So, yun ang nakikita kong biggest problem, and that's causing the problem with healthcare. Na wala nang pambayad, nagkakasakit pa. So nakakatipid ka nga sa jeep mo tapos nagkakasakit ka naman because of the same parang transportation that you're saving money is the one causing you the problem with your healthcare. So kahit papaano bumabalik din yung gastos doon eh. So kaya sa akin it's so important the job that you do at kailangan nyo talagang tutukan to. Ngayon, let's talk about the problem with the flood control, 'di ba? So lumalabas dito, gusto ko lang makuha kasi yung take mo dito, attorney do I call you attorney or congresswoman? Ano ba ang tawag sa inyo ngayon?
Renina lang.
Renina lang, sige. Oo, sige, pwede na. Sige.
Wag na yung formal ganyan.
Okay, so Rene, ang gusto ko marinig yung from you, kasi si Cheese nga, na medyo nagsalita na. Inunahan na nga niya yung lahat ng mga ibang nabibintang dito na meron daw nagbigay nga sa kanya ng 30 million na contractor na ngayon nakakuha ng 5 billion na contracts after na nanalo si Cheese noong 2019. Sinasabi niya before, pero pinag-uusapan natin was after eh. Lumobo yung proyekto na nakukuha ng contractor na to eh. Tingin mo ba na politika nga yung nangyari dito, pamumulitika? O tingin mo may basehan ba to? At ano tingin mo dapat mangyari moving forward? Not just to the Senate and to the Senate President, but damay din ng Congress dito eh. How do you view it? And kanina kasi you mentioned na you guys are doing an investigation. And I think I saw the investigation. Was it a Quadcom? Parang...
yung Committee on Public Accounts. Yes.
Right. Committee on Public Accounts. Naglabas ng di ba? Parang, yung ba yung headed by Congressman
Terry Ridon.
Terry Ridon. Okay. Interesting yan si Terry Ridon na yan. Pero anyway, sige. Isn't it interesting na nagagawa kayo ng hearing tungkol dito when the very people that are part of Congress could be involved? Ayan.
Okay. Actually, we don't see it na parang mutually exclusive yung iba't ibang forms of investigation na pwedeng mangyari at dapat i-undertake. Actually, for me, dapat lahat ng mga ahensya at ng mga institusyon na may capacity na mag-imbestiga, gawin natin yung mga mandates natin.
Okay.
Sa akin nga, for example, hindi dapat DPWH lang yung mag-investigate. Kasi, yes, merong mga kongresista na magpapa-insert ng projects. Pero sino implementor? DPWH, diba? Or essentially the executive din. So, we have to involve really the Commission on Audit. Na paano ba titignan yung mga iba't ibang proyekto na may kamay, legislature, executive, local government, kasi systemic to na issue,
Yes.
And actually sa akin nga yun nga na-mention si Chiz and yung fact na nagkaroon ng increase of flood control projects handled, yung biggest donor niya for the 2022 elections, this isn't just him, no? This is seen
Yes.
with different politicians, no? And honestly, this is the scheme of many political dynasties, di ba? Na, they have a partner contractor, it could be a relative or a trusted friend or kung ano man, tapos dadaloy yung projects through this avenue. So, sa amin, matagal na tong sistemang we understand exists and sinisiwalat na we actually call it bureaucrat capitalism, where we see that government is looked at as a profiteering scheme. No, it's a profit-making machine. How? No, one, lantarang korupsyon. We get contracts, we approve of projects, and on the side, may kukunin silang pera from the allotments na nakalagay doon. No? And ikalawa, they will pass policies, that will help them ensure that yung kung anumang profit na meron sila, they'll keep it sa kanila lang, or it will be easier for projects to go their way. No, kaya sa amin, we're very critical when it comes to yung projects na mapopondohan, anong mga batas na papasa, nang nasa paninindigan namin na dapat pro-people yung mga policies, pro-people din ang budget. So sa amin, that's really services. No, it's really education, it's health, yung transportation, housing, electricity, water, how do we live, how do we ensure that yung bansa natin kayang makatayo sa sariling paa at hindi depende sa kung saang international organization or foreign dominant power para lang magkaroon ng steady source of money that will drive us deeper and deeper actually sa gratitude sa kanila, 'di ba? So, yun yung framework na kailangan ting banggain, and we have to propose a new one. And so sa amin, yung continuous job namin is exposing these kinds of instances, and actually involving more people na sumisiwalat and nagpo-propose alternatives. Actually, kaya we look forward doon sa involvement ng people's organizations sa budget. For example, ito yung pronouncement recently ng Committee on Appropriations. Pero ang gusto naming mangyari ay hindi token lang yung involvement ng people's organizations, but rather real, grounded, and yung feedback mechanism ay nariyan. So we're looking forward, inintay namin yung accreditation criteria para kung anumang people's organizations that have a lot of grievances on how their money is being spent, they can actually sit in and provide real, timely feedback sa kung paano nangyayari yung budget.
Okay, and that's good that you mentioned that. And how do people can people get involved? Kasi alam ko that parang nabanggit na nga ni Speaker Romualdez that he was very open to parang opening the entire budget process, including the BICAM. Pero wala pa tayo narinig sa Senado eh. Interesting tong Senado natin eh. At least Congress, honestly, the way I see it, at least as a body, you guys made a challenge. Sige, let's open the entire process. Senate ngayon, the ball's in your court. Hindi pa sila sumasagot.
Actually, I'm not sure, I have to be maybe fact check, pero kahapon, napasa na ata sa Senate yung concurrent resolution na open yung BICAM. So
okay.
Okay. Pero parang yung sa House, aside from the open BICAM, nandyan yung Open Committee on Appropriations hearings and briefings. So, yun yung continuously gusto nating involved yung tao. So, kung ikaw, you want a stake in the budget, you have to participate.
Can I participate?
Yes.
Really?
You can participate. So, actually ngayon, hinihintay nga natin yung accreditation criteria. It should be coming from Congress. So, antabayanan natin, kung paano ba natin magagamit yung opening na to para makapag-input directly doon sa budget ng Pilipinas.
Alam mo, grabe, no? Umabot tayo sa panahon na sobrang walang tiwala yung taong bayan sa ating mga politiko na gusto ng taong bayan sila na lang yung magtatrabaho para lang mabantayan yung trabaho na ginagawa ng mga
Ano nga di ba alarming yung sinasabi nila na 2025 budget is the most corrupt budget. Pero actually, matagal naman na itong ginagawa. It's just that napakadaming avenues for scrutiny.
Yes.
And then the scrutiny is getting louder. So we should just be more louder.
Yeah,
more
and
louder.
and sa akin nga although I do think that ginamit na lang soundbite yung the most corrupt budget kasi like you said, the budget has always been corrupted. And
Yes.
don't tell me that this is the most corrupt because I can give you so many instances from previous administrations that
Yes.
could probably be worse than what's happening now. The difference lang nga is ngayon nagigising na yung mga tao.
Tama.
At because of social media, mas nakikita na natin, mas kumakalat. Kaya nga, mas natatakot sa tingin yung mga politiko ngayon na gumawa ng katiwalian kasi nga, kung hindi, nakikita ngayon. At hindi lang ngayon because of social media now, and you're seeing it happen in real time as we're speaking, how people are becoming more aware through mga ganitong podcasts. And I really hope na somehow, siguro naman, mahiya naman ng konti nga, di ba? Tulad sabi ni PBBM, mahiya naman kayo. So, sa inyo, sa mga kasama nyo sa Congress, how do you guys deal with this? I don't know, is that tough? Your position is tough, you're minority, and plus, the way you guys fight, medyo head-on kayo O nakikisama naman kayo to be able to try to work things out? Or how do you guys do it in Congress?
Well, ako, honestly, I'm new to all this.
Right. Oo nga pala, yes. So,
pero pinanghawakan namin yung sa Makabayan Block, firm on principle, flexible on tactics.
Okay.
Ibig sabihin, maraming issues yung existent. We hope for the very best, that we get unities on these issues. Pero the core of our understanding of society is unchanging, which is that may three ills, yung lipunan natin, it is yung foreign domination, it is yung pagkatali ng capital and ng kakayahan ng karamihan ng ating mga kababayan sa lupa, because it's monopolized by landlords.
Yes.
And ikatlo, that our government is being used as a profiteering machine. And these three, they have to be exposed, they have to be, may alternative tayong ipaglalaban. And, there's so much you can do in a reactionary institution. That's why our job is to empower the people's organizations. So we unite. There's rapport that we establish with our fellow congresspeople, but our real job is to continuously be grounded with the reality outside of the halls of Congress.
Right.
And ibig sabihin, lahat ng mga student councils, lahat ng mga people's youth organizations that are speaking out, they have to be continuously empowered, and yung campaigns nila binibitbit sa loob, and ginagamit yun para mas palakasin pa yung campaign sa labas.
Right. Okay.
And siguro, last na, yung pinaka-manifestation na nakita ko nito, impeachment ni Erap, for example. Diba? So, you see clearly the limitations of our institutions. The Senate voted not to open the envelope that shows damning evidence of gambling, which is the impeachable offense, diba? But it is the people's movement that forced the hand of these people to step down, etc. We can do more than that.
Speaking of impeachment, let's talk about that naman, kasi right now we have one in our hands and the Supreme Court has stepped in. I want to hear your thoughts on this na umabot na tayo ngayon sa Supreme Court na I'm saying it out loud na I really look at it as judicial overreach at they are actually overstepping their boundaries of power with a co-equal branch of government. That's my stand on it. I want to hear what your position is on this. At anong ano na yung next dito? Kasi nga may motion for reconsideration kayo napadala na. I don't know, was that the 20th Congress that sent it or the 19th Congress?
The 20th Congress.
20th Congress yan, di ba? Okay, pero ngayon lumalabas, Supreme Court said, we're not acting on it yet. Parang ngayon sila yung nagde-delay at sinasabi nila, kayo naman ang may kasalanan dahil hindi rush naman daw nyo yung fourth impeachment complaint, parang sinabotahe daw yung proseso. What's your ano?
Well, you're not alone doon sa stance ng judicial overreach. We're not alone. Legal luminaries, law schools, former justices are speaking out against that decision. No? And tama kasi yung decision na Duterte versus House of Representatives finds no support in the jurisprudence that has been established before, Francisco versus House of Representatives, and even yung case ni Gutierrez. So, those are, and yung complaint na tinransmit ng House, the fourth one, no, which happened before the archiving of the three complaints.
Yes.
A fact na medyo malabo or parang hindi stark, even though naka-quote na yung journal, no, doon sa decision, that happened, no, and is in line with Francisco versus House of Representatives as per prevailing jurisprudence. Yung ginawa na yung decision which said na due process must be observed in all steps, even though our Constitution provides in the first section of Article 3, na due process must be provided and it's in protection of life, liberty, property. It means na it is there when it comes to rights. No?
Yep.
Well, holding public office is not a right.
Right.
It's a privilege.
Yep.
No?
It's that life, liberty, or property.
Yeah, and so due process is not required to be observed on all aspects. No, it's enough nga na it will be observed at the level of the Senate, at the level of trial.
Yes.
'Di ba? Yung ganyang decision, wala yan sa Constitution, wala yan sa rules, wala yan sa previous jurisprudence. So that's why a lot of us are saying this is judicial overreach. And even yung sinabi nila about yung where initiation happens, where yung archiving is the inaction which triggered initiation. That's a lot of logical leaps to arrive at that point.
Yep.
And it is actually based on, a factual error. Kasi nauna yung transmittal before the archiving. There's a lot about that decision that needs to be unpacked, that needs to be rethought. And that's why, actually, the Makabayan Bloc also filed its own motion for reconsideration. First, yung mag-join muna sa complaint and then before the reconsideration. And a lot more groups are also joining, and also filing their own motions. Kailangan seriously pag-isipan ng Supreme Court kung paano mag-rule dito sa motions na to, i-rethink yung decision na to, and study carefully what the Constitution and what their own words in other jurisprudential cases have said.
Yeah, because lumalabas dito talaga is they're making amendments to the Constitution.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not even a lawyer. I read the damn thing and nakita ko talaga, I was like, wow, holy cow, they actually are trying to change the Constitution. Wala naman to sa Article 11. Ano yung ginagawa nila dito? So nagulat ako sa mga dinagdag nila. So I was saying, it doesn't even take a lawyer to see that. You just have to read it. And then, even while I was reading it, I was like, even the justification they were using to try to justify the decision and the way they were trying to arrive at the logical decision was not logical. Binasa ko, was like, wait a minute, you're talking about due process, pinag-uusapan natin. Lahat ng binigay mong, isinite mong example was trial phase and with Senate. Tapos sabihin mo, kailangan ng due process, kailangan marinig yung respondent. I'm like, well, everything you talked about was Senate trial phase na yan. Hindi naman yan sa Congress eh.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? So, ang labo talaga. And ang nakakatakot is prospectively, how are you guys going to deal with this? Because your block was one of the complainants that filed the first.
The second.
The second. Okay, the second one. Nagugulhan ako sa Akbayan and Makabayan eh. So you filed the second. Okay. Yes. So imagine natin, umabot ngayon tayo sa February 2026. Ang bilis ng isabotahe ngayon daw, di ba?
Yeah, exactly.
Nag-file ka, may sumunod nag-file. Wala. one bar rule na naman tayo, which is not the point of the one bar rule eh. Right? The one bar rule was not meant to protect the respondent. It's meant for accountability first.
Exactly.
Second, yung wag lang maabala yung House at wag maabala ang respondent. And how do you do that? It's not about the number of impeachment complaints. It's a number that actually gets initiated, transmitted to form the proceedings. Di ba?
Yeah, actually, una, no, it's so unfortunate na yung decision na naka-quote na nga talaga literally doon yung journal. And nakalagay doon na una yung transmittal and then yung archiving came later.
Yep.
Pero i-conclude niya na, dahil may inaction, tas may nauna yon, therefore, that's the initiation. So, kailangan talagang i-rethink yun. And siguro, yung nakaka-alarma din sa amin, no? This is making impeachment almost impossible.
Yes.
We're returning to the time ni Gloria Macapagal Arroyo na rat race ang impeachment. So, kung sino mang maunang mag-file, no matter how basura yung final, matitrigger na ang 1-year bar rule. Kung may inaction lang, di ba? Kung may in-archive lang yun. Kasi may supermajority or majority in favor of a particular official. Edi wala na. 1-year bar rule is triggered. Ayaw natin nun.
Yeah.
And precisely why the Constitution, contemplates yung third mode of impeachment, which is yung 1/3 of the House, is creates the resolution to constitute the impeachment complaint, which will be the articles of impeachment.
Right.
And pag tinransmit na yon, trial should proceed forthwith.
Right.
Kasi ayaw natin ng instance na may, majority supporting a impeachable official and then kaya lang nilang i-railroad yung buong proseso na mapoprotektahan yung impeachable official. You empower the, a minority, a 1/3 that is able to unite themselves para patuloy-tuloy yung accountability. Yun yung gusto nating ma-appreciate ng Supreme Court, no, na ayaw natin na the supposedly most the main way to hold impeachable officials accountable ay halos maging impossible na. So how do we hold accountable now yung mga matataas na makapangyarihang mga tao kung iba-block mo tong mode na to?
Yeah, and what's interesting when you mentioned that is in the 97 pages ruling, nakalagay na nga doon, sinabi nila, hindi naman daw ibig sabihin first to file yung rule na sinasabi nila.
Yeah.
Pero in the same few pages, sinasabi naman nila, pero may nauna na. Kaya dapat daw inaksyonan yun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. You just said hindi nga first to file. But now what you're saying is, pag may nag-file nga, you need to act on it even before the 10 session days is up. When sinabi na nga doon, basta hindi lumampas ang 10 session days, that's the rule. So, hindi naman lumampas eh. Kaya
may nakita nga akong kind of insightful from former retired Justice Azucena na yun, yung nakalagay sa Constitution is impeachment complaints cannot be initiated. Nakita mo rito, di ba? Yung once a year. And once contemplates a day, which is the most basic unit when you talk about a year.
Right.
Di ba? And so yung ginawa na transmittal ng 4th and archiving ng 3rd, that happened in one day.
Right.
Diba? So, walang na-trigger na 1-year bar rule doon. That's insightful and that's new. No?
Yeah, actually, I like that. When I read it, I was like, once in one. One is, parang once is the verb. One is considered a noun ata, if I remember. Basta may sinabi siyang ganun. And then I was like, that's actually a good point.
Yeah, diba?
So I was like, wow. And then, ano pa yung isa pa was, ang naririnig ko ngayon, and I talked about this with Sir Ronald Llamas nga kanina. Sabi ko, narinig ko yung balita na parang ang gagawin daw ng Supreme Court ay meron daw silang bagong palusot. At ito ay ginagamit nila yung House Rule on Impeachment. Have you seen the House Rule on Impeachment by the 15th Congress?
Yes, pero bago to.
This was interesting because in the House Rules, by the 15th Congress, I don't know if it was done before that or in the 15th Congress, nakalagay yung House Rules doon, that impeachment can only be initiated by referring it to the Committee on Justice,
Yeah.
even with the 1/3 signatories. So, yun ang mukhang gagamitin daw nila para i-deny yung motion for reconsideration. Yun ang naririnig ko ngayon, But, sabi ko nga, tinignan ko, sabi ko, okay, that's weird, Why would Congress make a House rules that's actually against the Constitution?
Exactly. Oh, pwede pa nga i-challenge yun
Yeah.
diba?
Pwede i-challenge kasi at the end of the day, ang nangyari dito is if you had to follow one rule, you would follow the Constitution.
Exactly.
Apparently, I think ang ginagawa ng Duterte camp is to say that, bakit nila sinundan yung House rule? Yun ang nilalaban. Ngayon, for me, the Supreme Court is now gonna say, dapat sinundan yung House rule. Wait, yun ako nagtaka. Sabi ko, Supreme Court is going to say, sundan mo yung House rule versus the Constitution? The House rule is internal. Constitution is where you have your mandate to interpret. And shouldn't you follow the Constitution over the House rule? Yun yung nagulat ako na narinig ko. What do you
What's my
think?
take? Well, may mga ilang decisions yung Supreme Court na basically binibigyan niya ng palugit yung House na gumawa ng internal rules.
Right.
And so, meron siyang default na hindi namin itatouch yung purview ng kabilang branch. But, the exception is if the rule is in violation of the Constitution. If the Constitution says, kung 1/3 na ang nag-sign yan, tatransmit na yun sa Senate, and trial should proceed forthwith. It's pretty clear.
Yep.
No, hindi nakalagay doon na this 1/3, dapat dumaan mo na yun sa Committee on Justice,
Right.
dapat ibig sabihin, ma-furnish muna ng copy, yung respondent, etc. Hindi forthwith yung nangyayari, di ba? So, sa akin, the Constitution is pretty clear. Kailangan, and I think the Supreme Court understands that yung main job niya is to essentially uphold what's in the Constitution.
Yep.
So, sa atin, it's pretty clear. So, sundan yun. Pero siguro sa akin na lang din, actually looking at all these developments, may bahagi sa akin na dismayed but not very surprised. Because, yun nga, na-mention ko yung sa impeachment ni Erap.
Yep.
They, supposedly Senate, which is the only institution that has the sole power to try. Pero yun yung ginawa niya. Refuse to try. Refuse to look at the evidence. May limitations talaga yung mga institusyon natin. But they will cave and they will respond to public pressure. And what we need to do is really empower everyone to provide this public pressure.
Wow. Okay. So having said that, maybe I'm gonna give you the opportunity to talk to your constituents and the people. And alam mo, malakas ang kabataan. The youth is what brought a lot of new faces into Congress and to Senate. And I think that the youth is going to be where the power will lie. Ano masabi mo sa mga kabataan natin that are watching today?
Okay. So, una muna, maraming salamat sa pagiging matatag ninyo sa napakahirap na panahon. Pero may hamon ang panahon sa atin. Ang hamon niya ay kailangan tayong lahat ay magkaisa, tayong lahat ay hindi scattered yung mga efforts natin, pero meron tayong isang pagkakaintindi sa paano rumisponde sa mga krisis na hinaharap natin ngayon. Whether it be the crisis of, decades-long corruption, decades-long non-prioritization of education, health, and different social services. And ngayon, yung pagbabaliwala sa hustisya at pananagutan, clear yung kailangang mangyari. Nasa sa atin ang kapangyarihan. Gamitin natin to. So, be organized, be part of organizations, join the deliberations on budget, join the different efforts na palakasin yung fight for accountability, and it means impeachment against corrupt officials like VP Sara, and empower ourselves to not only cascade and have education, health services be more accessible to our communities. Pero clamor against national government na i-provide ito, na budgetan ito. Ito yung gawin nating lahat. Thankful ako sa continuous avenues natin ng discussion like this na nakakalimutan kong podcast kasi na-absorb ako ng discussion. Pero I thankful din ako sa lahat ng mga nanood na marami actually yung nakakilala sa akin dahil sa podcast na to. Ganun.
Oh, wow!
Yeah,
No way!
And sa lahat ng kabataan na sumusuporta sa Kabataan Party List and alam na tayong lahat ang pag-asa ng bayan. And so, nasa sa atin yung susi kasama ng mga iba't ibang sektor para yung kinabukasan na deserve natin ay makamit natin. So, that is the challenge. I hope all of us take it up this coming this year and beyond.
Okay, wow, that sounds so good. Salamat sa oras mo, Congresswoman Renee Ko. And pagpatuloy mo yung laban. And sa akin, inaasahan ko talaga na one day we will see, and I hope maybe by the next budget or before the end of BBM's term, sana talaga we have a better budget that's more for the people at hindi para sa mga contractors natin at mga politiko natin. At kung may mga komento kayo, sulat nyo lahat yan sa comment section sa ibaba kasi importante yung boses nyo. The more you speak, even through comments, by liking, by engaging on podcasts and videos like this, lalo lalakas ang boses natin lahat. So isulat nyo lahat yan sa comment section sa ibaba. At pag nagustuhan nyo mga ganitong klaseng content, please make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And salamat, Attorney and Congresswoman, for coming to the podcast. And for all the viewers, salamat sa pagpapanood nyo. Ito si Kristan. Magkita tayo muli.
Maraming salamat!